This is Margaret in Windsor, and I'm going to introduce you to me again because if you're just picking up on this is a picture of the Brits, so they've always come here, okay? This gentleman used the name Dempsey. That's the name they gave me. The Kennedys, the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers. Um, well, my own uncle, George, helped kidnap me, and the Illuminati kidnapped me, the Mafia, the Freemasons. Took down my father with character assassination with a double. Then I'm going to show you some pictures and make some comments. A double claimed to be my father, and he married Wallace Simpson. My father was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, a school teacher from Madison, Wisconsin, sister to artist Georgia O'Keefe. This is me, one of the pictures growing up, right after they brought me to the pigsty farm. And that's George Washington, and I'm not going to say his last name, but he gets into that. Like Geneva was the twins. They brought me to Moulton, Alabama. This is a dressed-up version of this family. Believe me, they didn't look like that. They don't show the home. They didn't have the cars. This was a special-made photo of the family, they said. So they had to go to Decatur or Huntsville to get the camera gear. I saw them set it up, and I ran off. This is me. I ran off telling them I wasn't a part of that family. I remember it very well, and they brought me back, and this is Lina, the mother of the twins. They gave me Peggy's name. They were illegitimate, and so name-calling was common. Everything in the ugly book, and by the way, I picked cotton out most of my life. I lived on crap, sick, assaulted, everything in the book. Left there at 2 years old from a loving home. Edward VIII and Claudia Ruth O'Keefe was my mom's school teacher. I want to add this right here at the beginning. An imposter they used, a fake hit. That wasn't my dad that married Wallace Simpson and became the illegal Duke and Duchess of Windsor. Now, they still use that lie. The videos and all the news popping up today with Meghan and Harry marrying. That was an imposter that married Wallace, not my father. I'm going to show this picture. This is me again. That family. This is Elizabeth. Her father became the illegal monarch. This is a family she supported and given them homes and money and you name it. And here's Brits again that I owe. And I hope I get to pay. And I hope they're okay. This is the double, one of them that married Wallace Simpson. This is my dad, Edward VIII. And by the way, they brought a photo when I was 2 years old, handed it to Lina Dempsey. It wasn't a photo, it was a portrait, a big one. My father in gear much like this, only he was turned around this way with the shoulder this way. And he was holding me in a christening gown. So Archbishop of Canterbury, Cosmos Lang, had to, I believe it would have been him, that married my mom and dad. So he knew that my mom was queen, my dad was married to my mom. When he helped the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Roosevelt, you name it, the Mafia, take down my father with character assassination. He never married Wallace, and the double did all these dastardly deeds that was attributed to my father. My God, what? Okay, so my father wouldn't go along with the Illuminati and take orders. So they took him down. Then they kidnapped me because the minute I was born, I was Victoria II. I still am. And it was legal. This is George in 1939 with the Roosevelts planning my kidnapping. Okay, now I'm going to go back over here. I ran in a political campaign, and Larry Flint was shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia, and I'm just throwing that in because I ran in a campaign to replace a doctor I had written about in a medical malpractice book. And I'm going to skip on here. I was almost killed, so that didn't. I was in the campaign later, and he flew me out there because he was shot. It was a program shooter. This is Ms. Roosevelt being congratulated by none other than Wallace Simpson in 1941, October, after they saying, "Well done," that they'd kidnapped me and got me out of the way. How's that? Now, JFK helped in my kidnapping. His father was made ambassador. So here she is, and the title up here of the article is "What Earns Caroline Kennedy an Ambassadorship?" Well, what? Okay. This is my Aunt Georgia O'Keeffe, the artist. And a church here sent this out to me, and I know I'm being redundant on some of this. When I was living on the Appalachian Trail up here, and by the way, my mom and dad were married, still married and alive. They always remained married, and he was the legal king. The day I was born, I was Victoria II because of the addendum, and it was legal. But this church sent this up to me. Bought it. I wish I'd kept the book, but it got too much to carry, all the stuff, like the papers about Anastasia, the court papers, the true ones. This is Implantable Biochips by Mars. This is Timothy McVeigh, who says here they put a chip in him, the Army. And this is just saying that William has a chip in him in case he's kidnapped. Well, that's kind of a takeoff on me. This is the New World Order they're talking about that came in power when they took out my father and then kidnapped me. And the illegal George VI, they made him the illegal monarch, thus Elizabeth and the whole brood is illegal. And they talk about biochips, and that's what I was writing about. I didn't know about my kidnapping until late 83. This is when I'm doing the book in Marietta, Georgia. And I had been writing about doctors. I work for doctors, and chips being put in people's root canals, and they can program you in, like the Virginia Tech next door shootings, and then or to do anything. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I've put it up. I wanted to say this other. I think I put up what I meant to there. So now then, I hope I did anyway. I'm going to turn around and I want to finish by this. It's almost like Aloha from Hawaii when Elvis went to Hawaii, and everybody, all the world, I just about could see. The upcoming wedding and all of this is it's like public broadcasting. It's like Fox, it's NBC, ABC, CBS, all the news media that never touched anything about me, and not one word of truth about my father. The double, they're controlled by the Illuminati. But most of the people went along with it. They didn't care. So when you can switch the way the monarchy is inherited, that's supposed to be the way it goes. It's not supposed to be that you can come in and kidnap and replace a monarch with a phony, a fake, and have him do all these things and marry Wallace Simpson, when the real King Edward VIII was married to schoolteacher American Claudia Ruth O'Keeffe. She wasn't a movie star, she was a schoolteacher. By the way, if you want to get into, which is what they're doing now, watched it last night and it's hard to take. They're talking about Meghan Markle being biracial. Well, if you want to throw that in, first of all, I'm fighting for something that's mine, that's stolen, and horrific crimes done to me. I'm going to turn this around in a minute and see if it's going up. Uh, my husband, John Childers, that I married, father of my children, Mark and Scott, heirs to the crown after me. His father, they were from Wichita, Kansas. His father was part Indian. I believe his father was half Cherokee or three-fourths Cherokee. So, if you're going to try, and this makes my children a bit of American Indian. So if you want to play that game, and I've always been for the Indians, and I was for the blacks until I still am. But when you start throwing it in my face, all this, and getting against me, I found out when I was doing the book and almost killed that Martin Luther King partnered with JFK. They helped kidnap me together, and they I'm a pawn in this war game. And this was the takedown of the British Empire, the South Africa, and all of it. Can you believe this mess that's going on now? It's I have one word to say here is it doesn't matter. They're fakes, Elizabeth. The world dotes on it. I guess you wouldn't like to see the real queen brought over here in the condition I was brought up in and assaulted my whole life, and what happened to my children. Oh, I don't think you'd like to see that. I pick cotton. You want to see me pulling a cotton sack? You want to see all the horrible things they did to me, and that makes me unworthy, or whatever the reason. I know that part of the royal family came after me, and the Brits and Germans and some Americans. I've said that, and I know to be a fact. My God. I don't know. I would be burned at the stake if I were able to go home today. They are so enthralled, not all of them, and everybody in the world, the country here, I'm going to go ahead and say it, Channel 10, all of them here are on their way from here where the real one is, right over here in their face since I came here in 86, no matter how this turns out. They're on their way over there about this princess who's marrying she's going to be a princess, marrying a prince, Harry. It would be such an irony if this whole thing played out. They've used this because right now Elizabeth and company have no wiggle room because the race card's being played, and you haven't shown the media, no one's shown what's been done to me, brought it before the world, because it's ugly. I'm the monarch. Look what was done to my father. They stole his name, his crown, his daughter, everything, and gave it to this hoodlums. So what's the use of the line of inheritance if you're going to throw it around and give it to whoever because she's biracial, or any other part of it? They're illegal. So is Kate is illegal. Harry's illegal. And you love Diana? I am appalled. I'll go ahead and say it. I don't think, I'm going to leave it at that. Right now, if I were able to come home, I'd be burned at the stake, or whatever you want to call it. I had that down here, tarred and feathered. So if you want to see somebody eating a biscuit with an onion, just have something to eat, the Queen of England, I hope you get to see it, world. And I know there's something else. Anyway, Harry is, the thing that's really getting me is this is put together, and I so hope that it comes out right. The world is so doting on Harry, the whole world, this country and all of them, on Harry and Meghan and all about them. Guess it's not good to see the real monarch. I'm not going to say all of it, not just picking cotton and starving and digging a fly out of the milk that's just been milked from the cow, and nothing was sanitary. Then taking care of the woman that, the twins that were killed, and they put me there. She killed them. They were illegitimate. So if you want to go into name calling, like me, if I'm going to have to defend myself by saying, hey, they call me bastard, illegitimate, what was it, a Tosac slip I wore to school, and the kids on the bus would pull it out from under my dress and laugh in my face. I remember Howell was a principal, and I was trying to tell him how I was getting beat up on the bus and trying to defend Philip. And I'm not going to go into that. Philip was put there too, in that family about 4 years after I was. And I was getting beat up, and this is in seventh grade. It was all the time that I was beat up, and I told the principal he had been demoted. Mr. Howell had, though, and thank goodness for a little while anyway. But he had a chip on his shoulder because he had been principal for years. But I went to him trying to get help on what was happening to me. They were beating me up on the bus and trying to hurt Philip, and that I couldn't handle. And I told him what they were calling me, bastard and illegitimate. And he looked at me and he laughed and said, well, that's what you are. Well, no, I'm not. I'm very legitimate, and you can't imagine how it was treated. So if you want to get into comparing Megan and this love affair with Harry, I so wish this would be that it's a prelude to telling the truth in everybody's face. Well, I knew there was something else here. I think it's hard to believe it. The Illuminati sold out Crown, sold out Great Britain. They represent Facebook Zuckerman. I guess that's his name, Mark Zuckerman. I'm on Facebook, by the way. I don't know how long. The fake news is what he's a grandson of the Rockefellers that kidnapped me. I think David. So when they started talking about fake news, the fake news is what they've done to my father, King Edward VIII, and to me. And so they would call my telling the truth fake news. I don't know how it plays out. I'm in pretty bad health. I hope my children, Mark and Scott, are well and alive. And I hope and pray with everything in me that these bunch of thugs pay for their crimes. Amen.